Are you looking for simple projects to create with your Glowforge without buying a ton of SVGs? If so, you're in the right place. Today we're going to create 4 projects from 1 SVG using the tools in the Glowforge Premium software. I'm Katie, and this is Things Katie Makes, where we talk all things Glowforge, so you can increase your confidence and lean into your creativity. I'm extra excited about today's projects because we're going to take one simple SVG, a bunny outline, and we're going to turn it into 4 distinct projects that you can use to decorate for Easter. First one that we're going to make is an earring design. The next might be my favorite, and that is a card out of heavy cardstock. Did you know you could engrave on cardstock? The results are pretty cool. The third will test some of your skills because we're going to talk about kerf. And if you don't know what that is, go check out the link below in my description, which will take you to a simplified guide. But we're going to make a shelf sitter. This project will introduce the concept of kerf, which is where we take into account the material that the laser removes so that we can get a snug fit for our stand. If you don't want to use glue and you get your kerf right, you won't have to. The last project we'll complete today is an Easter basket tag, like this one. What I'm really excited to show you in this project is that you can create script lettered names in the Glowforge user interface completely. I was surprised by this. I didn't think that you could do this. They have added some tools recently that allow you to do this better. Now, there aren't a lot of fonts that work for this, but I'll show you some that will. First thing that we need to do is upload our bunny SVG that we're working with. You can find this design if you'd like to work with it in a link in the description box. So we have our little bunny design. We can see that he is currently about 1.6 inches high and about 0.8 inches wide. I think this is a great size for our earrings, so we're gonna go ahead and start with those first. So we're gonna make these hoop earrings, so we're gonna put a little circle in to his head. All right, the circle that we're gonna insert, we will make a circle shape. I know that I want to start with this at about 0.2 inches. That's actually a little too big, so I'm gonna zoom into my bunny a little bit so that I can see how large I need this to be. You can zoom in on a Mac by using Command+, or you can use the zoom feature up at the top here. All right, so I can see that that's a little bit too big, so I'm gonna try it at 0.15. And that's still a little too large, so let's try 0.1. That looks like it's about the right size. Now you might want to measure your earring fastenings before to make sure that that size will work for you. All right, so we could leave it like this. We could leave just this little bunny, but I want to make it look a little bit like a peep. So I am going to add 2 eyes and a little nose. So again, we will add a circle. And I don't know exactly how big I want to make that, so I'm going to go ahead and make it pretty small. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on my bunny. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to an engrave circle so that I can see what the true size of it is while I'm working with it. Now, when you get to something this small, you may have difficulty moving it around and getting to the 4 directional arrows. So then just zoom in again so that you can get those 4 directional arrows. Otherwise, you'll be resizing your dots. All right, I like the size of that. It's 0.049 inches. We will copy that using Command C, paste it using Command V on a Mac. And then I want to make sure that these are aligned tops or centers. So I'm going to go into the align feature and align those middles. I also then can group them by highlighting both of them, right-clicking on my mouse and choosing the group feature. Now I can center all my elements. So I will select everything and I will align their centers. All right, so now he needs a little nose. We'll do the same thing. We'll create our little circle. We will make it an engraved circle, just a little easier for us to see what we're working with. And then we will make it small. Because I have this link locked versus unlocked, That is why this is staying proportionally correct as I move it in and out. I'm going to go ahead and just make it the same size as my eyes at that 0.049 inches. And then I will place it. Again, I can align this center with all the elements. Because I haven't grouped any of the other elements, I want to make sure I select all of them. Otherwise, I could move something off center. All right, so now all of our elements are centered. Our bunny is ready to go. We can group everything. So we will select everything by dragging the arrow across, right-clicking with our mouse, and choosing group. Then we can use our Command C to make a copy. And add a second one so that we have a pair of bunnies. I'm gonna make these out of acrylic, so I will use the white acrylic settings for that. You could easily resize these and use them for other things. If you wanted to make them studs, you would just want to ungroup the item. So right click on the item, ungroup it, and remove that cut circle. But otherwise this design is set. We go ahead and move on to our next design. I'm gonna save this design as bunny earrings. You can change the name of your file up in the top. I'm also going to export this design as an SVG so that I have it and it can be available to you. In case you don't want to design them yourself or you just want something to work along with, and that link will be in the description. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm gonna go back out to my dashboard. I wanna leave those as is, so I'm gonna use the three dots here to make a copy of this file. Now I'm in the copy. We're gonna work on now our card. So we're gonna start with our bunnies. We're gonna delete one. So we're gonna delete out the little circle and the little peep features because we're gonna make this bunny a cutout in a card. So I know that I want to build a 5x7 card, so I'm going to insert a rectangle. I know that I want the height of the card to be the 7 inches, so I'm going to make this rectangle 10 inches. I'm going to unlock that aspect ratio. I'm going to make this card 10 inches wide by 7 inches high. I then am going to add a line for guidelines for myself. I may choose to score this line at the end to help with folding, but for right now, it's just going to be there for guidance. So I'm going to rotate this line until I hit 0 on my width or very close to it. And then I will make it 7 inches high. Now that I have that line created, I will center it on my card. So I will group both of those and I will use the align feature to align the centers of those two. All right, so now that I know I'm working with the front of the card, my plan is to make this a cutout card. So I'm going to cut these little bunnies out and I'm going to put some paper behind them. I think I want this bunny to be slightly bigger, so I'm going to go ahead and resize him. I want to make sure that he's locked. He is not, so I want to go ahead and lock his aspect ratio before I resize him. All right, I like that size, so I'm going to copy him and make a couple of copies and place some more of these bunnies. I know that I want to be able to fit 4 on my card, so I may need to resize them a little smaller. So before I do that, I'm going to space them evenly using the align tool. So I'm going to space them evenly side to side. And then while they're grouped, I'm going to make them smaller by simply dragging that bottom corner. Okay, I like their size. Now I want to align these two. I want to align their bottoms. And then I want to do the same with these two. And then I'm going to nudge those up a little bit using my arrow key. Now I actually want to give a little more breathing room between these since I know they're going to cut. So I'm going to space them out a little more and then I will evenly space them using the alignment tool. All right, so now that I've eyeballed that, I'm going to go ahead and select all of them again and evenly space them side to side. Now I want to add text. I know that I like this Corinthia script and we are going to say Happy Easter with that first statement. I will check to see if I am locked. I am, so I can go ahead and drag this to make it the size that I want. Right, I like how that looks. I want to add a line below it, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that using Control-C and Control-V to add my next phrase to my. And then for my last portion of this card, I'm going to change the font to this Open Sans Condensed in a bold version. And I'm going to make that significantly bigger. Now that I have those sized how I like them, I will go ahead and select all of them and I will align their centers. And then I can also evenly space them top to bottom just to get the spacing a little bit more correct. And there we go. So now my card is ready to go. Since I am using heavier cardstock than this 20-pound copy paper, I'm going to change my cut settings very slightly. So a proof grade cut will use 200 speed and 10 power. I'm going to use 12 power just to get a little bit of a cleaner edge. I don't want to use very much power. I'm cutting through paper and I don't want to set it on fire. So I'm going to go ahead and use 12 power. Now, if you have a basic Glowforge, your power settings will be slightly different than mine. I have a plus, but it's a plus that has the 45 watt laser, which is the same as the Pro. If you have the basic, you'll want to check and see if you need a little bit more power than this. And before we move on again, I am going to export this design. It reminded me to change my settings. So where I've changed this paper, I'm going to actually save this. So you can save this as a custom setting for your machine. And you see this little plus button that tells you to save as, and we're going to save this as heavy cardstock. I believe the cardstock I'm using is about 100 pound. It could be 80, but we'll save it as heavy cardstock. It should work for either. And now I have that setting. And the reason that it has you do that when you export is that it actually exports those settings with your SVG, which is pretty cool. Okay, now we're going to go back to our dashboard. We are going to copy our bunny earring file again because we are going to make a little shelf sitter using the same design. So we are going to rename this bunny shelf sitter. I'm going to delete one of these. We know we already ungrouped this, so we can delete out that little cut circle. We will regroup this for now so that we don't move any of our positions. And we're going to resize him to be about 8 inches. So I'm going to use this and get him to be 8 inches tall. All right, now that he's 8 inches tall, I need to create the little tab that can fit into the stand. So to create that tab, I want to create a rectangle. To make the tab, I know that the material that I'm working with is about 0.117 inches thick. I don't really want to show much of it, so I'm going to make it 0.12 inches high, and I know that I need it to be a little bit wider than my bunny, so I'm going to make it 5.5 inches wide to start. So now that I have that tab, I actually am going to make it a little bit taller so that I have some room to have it cross over the bunny and make him a little bit more secure. So I'm going to make it 0.15 inches, and I'm going to align the bottoms. All right, now that I've done that, I need to join these. And if you're coming from Cricut Design Space or Silhouette Studio, you would be looking for a WELD feature or a Pathfinder feature. We don't have that in the Glowforge user interface. So what we need to do is select both items, group them, and we're going to create an outline. And we're going to create a new outline, but we're going to make it a 0 offset outline. So 0 inches. And this allows us to create that new shape because it won't outline the inner portions of the shape. So if you can see, I have this new outline. I need to ungroup this so that I can delete the portions that I don't need. And then I can move my base back over here to my bunny and I can align him. I'm gonna make sure I group all my dots. And then I can align the centers. All right, so now he has his little tab to go into the base. So now I want to make the base. We're gonna start with a circle and we'll actually make an oval for our base. And we know that we made our slot 5.5 inches wide. So we want to keep that in mind when we create our oval. So we're going to create our oval at 6.5 inches to give us a 1/2 inch on either side larger. And we're going to try it as, and that 2.7, we're going to try 2.75 inches high. I think we can make it a little skinnier, so we're going to try it at 2.5 inches high. I like this oblong shape at 2.35 inches high and 6.5 inches wide. Now, we need to make the slot for this tab to fit into. Now here we're going to talk a little bit about kerf. If you want to learn more about it, there is a link in my description box that will take you to a free download that you can use to learn more about kerf, as we won't talk about it in depth here. We need to make a rectangle that will fit our material. As I told you before, we measured our material and we know that our material is 0.1165 roughly. If we were to start it at 0.1165, we could have some gaps on the sides because of the portion of the material that the laser burns off. So there's a little bit of material that gets removed every time that the laser makes a pass. I know that for my machine, that is about 0.005 on each side. So knowing that I have 2 sides I'm working with, I would want to take off 0.01. So I will want to make my height 0.107 inches high. I'm not going to adjust for that kerf on the edges because I like to have a little bit of room to slide the material in, but I am going to adjust it on the front and the back so that he won't tip over. I'm going to select both items and I'm going to align their middles and their centers to make sure that my item is centered. And then I will group this as well. All right, so now our bunny is ready to go. All right, for our last project, we will go back to our bunny earrings and make another copy. We are going to make some bunny Easter basket tags. So we will delete one of our bunnies and we will remove our eyes and our nose because we're going to put a name on this bunny. We'll delete that circle as well. We'll put an appropriately sized one when we are ready. So first thing we need to do is take our bunny and we're going to make him 6 inches high for our tag. Then we need to add our cut circle. To fit our ribbon, I think we're going to want that to be about 1/4 inch, so 0.25 inches. Put it up here at the top. Select both items and we will align their centers. And now we'll group that so that we can move it together as we need to. So we want to make our name and we want it to be something that can sit on top of the bunny without us having to glue each individual piece. And I will admit it is fairly challenging and you will need to make some compromises, and there are not a lot of font options that you can use. But I did find 5 fonts that work pretty consistently, and I will show you those here. We're going to type the name Charlotte. And the first script that we're going to use, Meie Script, M-E-I-E script. So I'm going to make this slightly bigger, and I'm going to change this to a cut. Now, what you will see here is that with this font, I have areas that are not joined together. Could you make this work for this bunny tag? Yes, because you could use some 3M tape and just attach it to the tag. But I want to see if we can actually get this to work with some of the tricks that we have within the user interface. So this spacing will change the spacing on the letters. So right now they are spaced at 100% apart. We're going to try 50% and see as those bump together if we're getting some of those paths to close. So we see we have this open path right here between this R and this A, and this open path between the C and the H. So at 50%, we didn't quite close those. So we're going to try 25%. Closer. Let's try 0%. Okay, so this could work. You could make this work. The challenge here is I don't love the way this looks with these little pieces of each letter overlapping, But you can see that this did create clean paths for the laser to cut, and everything is now attached. So it took those places where the letters overlapped and it made space in between them, so it will just cut the path. This makes me a little nervous that it might break given how small this is, and I also just don't love the way that this looks. So we're going to try a different font with the same name. So the next one we're going to try is the Dancing Script. And we're going to go back to our 100% spacing, and this looks great. So this one will work. We don't have any issues where there's something that won't cut. It's a tiny bit thin, so I will want to make sure that I put 3M tape on the back before I cut it. But this one will work great. We can fit it to our bunny and it'll work great. So we're going to copy that to just look at a couple other options. The next one we will look at is the Corinthia script. Change that back to a cut. All right, so this looks good except that the C doesn't connect. So you may find with some letters with each of these fonts that some names will work, some won't, just based on how they have designed that font for each letter and whether it has connections or not. But given that it's only the C that doesn't connect, we might be able to make this work by just changing the spacing slightly. So at 65% spacing, we ran into a problem because our R disconnected while our C connected. So this one won't work. So we'll go back to 100%. You could still use this if you wanted to and just make sure that you secure that C. The alternative as well is if you wanted to do this as an engraved font and just put a backer on it, a small backer, you could create an outline of that and you could just make it a really tight outline, maybe 0.04 inches or even smaller if you wanted, and just engrave that name on top of that. So that's an alternative if you really like the way that that script looks. The next font that we're going to try is Italianno font. Again, we're okay on the beginning of the letters, but this R and this L are not connecting. So we can try collapsing this a little bit and see what we get. So this one at 45%, everything connects, but we have some really strange jagged edges. So for this name, it's not the best. All right, so another one we can try is this, I'm struggling to pronounce these, Miss Fajardose. I'm not sure how we pronounce that. So we're close here. So we can try this at maybe 80%. And we got some connections, but we also got some odd little pieces there. And the last font that we will try is this Monsieur La Doulaise. So this font looks great, except that our C doesn't connect to our H. So again, if you wanted to separate the pieces and just have them on, you could do that. This is also a very, very thin font, so I might be worried about this breaking apart, and it only comes in a regular weight, so you can't make it any thicker. But this one would be a possibility, just be careful. And it has some really pretty flourishes if you wanted to use it. All right, so what we're gonna work with is our dancing script, which I have found that this worked pretty well for a lot of different tests that I completed with it. And I will include the name of all of those fonts in the description, so if you want to test any of them out, you can. So I want to place this back on my bunny and see how I like the placement. So that looks pretty good. I like that it's overlapping my bunny. Now, I could do a couple of other things here for this tag. So if I wanted to, we could make this 2 pieces and I could create a duplicate of this, ungroup it, delete out the cut piece. And if I wanted to make a little edge around this, again, I would need to adjust for the kerf. So to deal with the kerf, what I want to do is go ahead and make an outline, but I want to do an inset outline. So I'm going to create a new outline at negative 0.01, knowing that that's what I want to adjust for my kerf. So that's my new bunny, and I want to use that one, delete the old one. And I want to make an outline outside of this that will be this little frame I'm making for my bunny. So I'm going to create this new outline at 0.25, which is perfect. That's exactly the size that I want. And now I have my new outside shape. So when I do that, I can put this on and this Charlotte will lay down flat on top of both of those. And that is my bunny tag design. All right, those are our projects. What do you think? Which one was your favorite? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're just getting started making projects and you want to go see how to complete a project from start to finish using only the premium design tools rather than bringing in an SVG, go watch this video that's playing now. And it'll walk you through creating a keychain from start to finish using only the premium software. And make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content I'm putting out on Tuesdays and Fridays.